achieved.
I guess 2 out of 3 ain't that bad, but if you are the largest MMA organization on the planet and claim to have the best fighters fighting under your brand name, maybe 2 out of 3 isn't good enough. And what I'm referring to are the 3 major free agents who are opting to test the water and see, if the grass was greener on the other side, and mostly if Bellator was willing to cough up the cash. And with Benson Henderson opting to go to Bellator and Aljamain Sterling and Alistair Overeem both opting to stay with the UFC today, 2 out of 3, not bad, but certainly it could be the beginning of a small shift, possibly bigger shift, in the MMA scene as far as top-end talent is concerned. Welcome back to Kamikaze Overdrive MMA Predictions. As always, I am your host, Scott Johnson, and on this episode of the show, I will be breaking down for you the 6 main card fights on the upcoming UFC Fight Night 83 event, which will take place on Sunday, February 21st. Now, I'm going to give you 6 main card fights. This card has undergone a few changes with regard to injuries, especially one that just happened today pretty much an hour after I finished breaking the fight down. Nonetheless, I'll be explaining to you what I'm offering you. I'm coming off a pretty decent showing, 8-4 overall at UFC Fight Night 82. Had a couple nice upset predictions, and mainly Mike Pyle and Derek Lewis picking up decent upsets. And the bet packs were acceptable, not as good as I'd hoped they had been, but nonetheless, we continue to roll on, and with we're going forward. You can buy the remaining 2 bet packs for UFC, the last 2 cards in February, so UFC Fight Night 83 and UFC Fight Night 84 for $17, or you can buy them each for $10 individually, and then, of course, the subscription will kick back into place for March and April, and as of right now, we're looking at 5 events over those 2 shows. 5 events that includes 2 pay-per-views and a Fox card, so a lot of high-end matchups. Nonetheless, that's enough from me. Let's get to our first main card prediction. The main card opens up with a lightweight matchup featuring James Krause with a current record of 22 wins and 7 losses, taking on Shane Campbell of Canada with a record of 12 wins and 3 defeats. Now, Krause is coming off an upset victory over Darren Cruikshank. He had lost 3 of 4 prior to his short-notice UFC debut, where he upset Sam Stout via submission. He had a questionable loss against Bobby Green mixed into that slump, and a injury-related victory over Jamie Varner, which was difficult to watch. Now, Campbell is coming off an upset over Elias Silverio, an upset that I predicted. I'm very proud to say that. After a short-notice debut against John McDessie that he lost by knockout, but fared fairly well early in that fight. Both men are very tall for the division. Krause 2 inches taller, 2-inch reach advantage as well for the American. The Canadian is the younger man by a single year. For Krause, BJJ brown belt, 29 fights overall, so a lot of experience. 6 wins by knockout, 14 wins by submission. 2-4 on the scorecards. His other losses have come once by knockout and twice by submission. For Shane Campbell, BJJ purple belt, a very impressive 62-9 record as a professional kickboxer. In the MMA world, 5 wins by knockout, 2 wins by submission, 5-1 on the scorecards. His other losses have come by knockout and submission. Now, statistically, these guys stack up fairly similarly. Krause averages just about 1 strike more per minute than his opponent, but both guys are near even in their totals, both their output and input offensively, or how often they get hit and how often they hit guys. Are very close as far as what, they're close. Similar wrestling numbers, both guys averaging below 2 takedowns per fight with low completion percentages, but keep in mind Krause has a much bigger sample size when looking at his numbers compared to Campbell's. Now for Shane, he's a Muay Thai fighter, throws some very hard low kicks, especially the outside leg, was brutalizing the lower half of John McDessie in that fight. That had McDessie looking for takedowns, which is out of the ordinary because he is a very good striker in his own right. Campbell throws a nice body kick, which he will throw off the back, that back leg round kick technique. He will also go to that front kick up the middle of the body. And overall, he's got very sharp technical skills. Right hook and a right cross will highlight his hands. He also mixes in a very good uppercut. Throws a lot of punch kick combinations, usually 2, maybe 3 strikes and done. Then he resets and looks to attack again. When he did get hurt by McDessie, he was dropped with a massive right hand when he became stationary against the cage and was looking for kicks and let his defense lapse a little bit. Now with James Krause, he has a very good kicking arsenal as well. He throws some nice body kicks, not nearly as impactful as Campbell though, and he's better when he throws combinations. He's far more effective than when he just throws single strikes. Krause will switch stances up, throws a nice long spearing left jab, hard left hook to the body, look for him mixing a jumping knee, which he can do because of his height, and he has a nice stinky head kick that he can disguise very well. When he fought Valimir Lazaro, he had a lot of trouble getting tagged with some big combinations from the Brazilian because he stood directly in front of him. He also had issues with the combinations and pressure and volume of Jorge Masvidal in a similar scenario. Krause, I would say, against Campbell is the much better grappler. Look for him to punch and change levels. He likes to work in trips whenever he is looking for takedowns, just to take his opponent's base away and make it that much more likely that he's going to land the completion. Against Lazaro, though, he had a lot of trouble keeping him down, but it showed against Cruikshank. When he took him down, he rolled to the back and locked up the submission almost instantly. For Campbell, he showed decent takedown defense against Makdessi, but again, Makdessi's not the greatest wrestler. He was able to scramble out of a lot of takedown attempts from Elias Silverio, but he was taken down and spent a lot of time on his back in that fight. When he did turn the tables on the Brazilian, he showed a nice judo throw. He showed himself to be very strong in the clinch, and he really likes to use that whizzer and work that whizzer in combination with the scrambling ability to counter and then work himself into a better position. He took Silverio's back in that fight, and now the Brazilian was slowing down a little bit from fatigue, but I was really impressed with the way Campbell was able to turn that fight on its head and use what was expected to cost him the fight to actually win him the fight. If Krause does shoot for takedowns, look for Campbell to try and lock up something, attack the neck, and make him back off for fear of a submission. Krause overall has issues scoring takedowns with regularity and keeping his opponent on the mat. Campbell, I think, has good enough takedown defense to defend and possibly turn those situations into offensive advantages. I think the volume and impact of Campbell's striking will wear on Krause. Look for him to target the legs and the body, and he's really going to do some damage with his offense. Krause has had issues in decisions, showing the judges that he is the better, more impactful striker. I think Campbell's able to separate himself with his offense, does enough with his grappling to at least make it a stalemate, possibly an advantage. But my prediction is Shane Campbell to pull off a minor upset and defeat James Krause by decision, possibly split, but a very close one nonetheless. Now, the next fight I'm breaking down for you is probably right now it's scheduled to take place in the prelims, but with John Lineker pulling out short notice, Cody Garbrandt, if they can't find an opponent for him, and I'm kind of hoping they don't, because I hope they push that fight off to a little while from now when Lineker recovers. I'm guessing this fight will get bumped up to the main card, and it is in the UFC's welterweight division as Jonavin Webb, 8 wins and 1 loss, takes on Nathan Soulforce Coy with a record of 14 wins and 6 losses. Now we're looking here. This fight, it was originally scheduled to be on the Fight Pass prelims, then got bumped all the way up to the regular prelims, and I'm anticipating it could go to the main card. It might not be the case. Either way, here's my prediction for it. Coy is coming off a short notice debut loss to Danny Robertson. He got the opportunity to get in there. As he said, he didn't take do a lot of research on his opponent, and he ultimately lost that fight. He had a so-so run. I think he fought twice with a 1-on-1 record on The Ultimate Fighter. For Webb, he's been out of action for 10 months after taking his short notice UFC debut, which was a controversial split decision in Australia to Kyle Noak, which was ultimately the first loss of his career. Physically, both men are 5'10", 2-inch reach advantage for Webb, and he is the younger man by a significant amount, 11 years in total. Now for Webb, he comes from a grappling-heavy background, BJJ and wrestling, 4 of 8 wins by submission, 2 wins by rear naked choke, 2 knockouts on his record. He's 2-1 when going the distance, and he has 4 first-round finishes. Now, he does have a no contest against recent UFC fighter Lyman Good, former Bellator champion, and that many felt, and Jonavin included, felt that Good was on his way to winning that matchup. It was for his CFFC welterweight title, and there was an eye poke in the third round that ended that fight with a no contest, but I think, people are saying Lyman Good was well on his way to winning that fight, handing him his first loss. For Coy, he's been around. He's a solid veteran. Strikeforce, he fought 3 times going 1-2. He fought 3 times in Bellator going 2-1. He has pretty good early career wins over Mike Pierce, Rick Story. He also picked up more recent victories over Diego Lima and Paul Bradley. He also comes from a wrestling background. He has 3 wins by knockout, 4 wins by submission. He has a solid 7-2 on the scorecards. His losses, 2 losses by knockout and 2 losses by submission. He had won 6 fights in a row prior to his current 2-fight losing skid. Now, the first thing with Coy I look at is that his durability is becoming a major question mark. He has been finished in back-to-back fights, and actually 3 consecutive losses that he's had have all been by finish. And you also go back to his time on the show where he was submitted by Vicente Luque, as my phone continues to go off and interrupt me. he's known for his grinding wrestling approach, but if his body's breaking down and able to carry that out, that could be an issue going forward. We did see him showcase some of his striking in his matchup against Roberts. That didn't overly work out that well for him. He ultimately, in that situation, he scored a takedown and was put on the defensive right away and got submitted shortly after. Against Vicente Luque on the show, he was also having success with his takedown game, but eventually got submitted in that fight as well. For Jonavin Webb, when he fought Kyle Noak, he landed a couple of nice takedowns and showed serviceable striking overall. So above average, actually met and surpassed the expectations I had for a striking game. He did a nice job of punching and shooting for takedowns. He was having to cover a lot of distance because Noak is a pretty big welterweight, a former middleweight, and he did that, admirably. He jumped on a single leg, which was pretty nice, and then dropped for a footlock when he initially didn't actually close the deal with the initial shot. He has a nice reactionary double leg, which I think will play a factor in this matchup as well. And look for him to jump on guillotines, go for submissions. He tried a calf slicer. He's a very good transition grappler, very aggressive guard passer, and exceptionally active on the mat. When he did strike, he threw a nice turning side kick. He has a pretty decent overhand right. He was using his speed against Noak, not a ton of combinations, but still trying to stay as active as possible, changing stances to try and throw his opponent off. He did score a knockdown with a quick 1-2 in the second round. So again, his hands are decent, and over 10 months, they've probably improved. I'm also looking at a scenario here where he's coming off the first loss of his career. He's a young fighter. That's a big experience to have gained, and I think that helps him as well. Coy, he relies heavily on his wrestling, which when it works, that's fantastic, but he's going to be hard-pressed to control Jonavin Webb on the mat unless he is able to tire him out with a strong opening round and a half. I think Webb's striking will show improvements. I think he will showcase his grappling skills here. It's going to force Coy to compete on the feet where he's not comfortable with, and it's going to take his wrestling out of the equation. I think a Webb eventually catches him, whether it be on the feet with a strike or on the mat with a submission, but my prediction is Jonavin Webb to defeat Nathan Coy by submission. The third fight in the main card was also a prelim matchup that got bounced up when another fight on this card was removed. It's in the UFC's middleweight division as Chris Camozzi, 22 wins and 10 losses, takes on Joe Diesel Riggs with a gargantuan 41 wins, 16 losses, and 1 no contest. Now, Camozzi is coming off the first UFC win in a long time for him. The last time he picked up a victory was at UFC 158 versus Nick Ring back in 2013. But making that look like it was just yesterday, Joe Riggs is coming off his first UFC win since 2006, where he defeated Jason Von Flue at Ultimate Fight Night 6. Yeah. Long time ago. For Riggs, he won by disqualification. He was moving back to middleweight against his opponent. Didn't look great in the first round, but eventually got it going. Camozzi ground out a victory over Tom Kong Watson and ultimately sent Watson packing. Physically, Camozzi 2 inches taller. He'll have a 6-inch reach advantage. He is also the younger man by 4 years. Now, Camozzi, he's a BJJ brown belt. 6 wins by knockout, 7 victories by submission. He's 9-5 on the scorecards. He does have a sizable number of submission defeats at 5 on his career. He's never been knocked out. Now, for Diesel, he's also a BJJ brown belt. 20 wins by knockout, 16 wins by submission, 4-3 on the scorecards. His finished defeats are piling up. 6 losses by knockout, 7 losses by submission overall. Riggs has 58 fights. That's massive. And he's only 33 years old. That's a lot of road wear and tear, a lot of mileage on his body, and that durability is a major question mark. We've seen him hurt in a couple of fights. The situation in his last fight against Ron Stallings, and of course prior to that against Ben Saunders, and he's also been finished in 4 of his last matchups as well. So that, or 4 of his last losses, sorry. So that tells you that he's got a lot of wear and tear in his body, and it could be taking its toll. Mental toughness is another question mark I have with Diesel Riggs. As against Ron Stallings, he was winning that second round and looking quite good. He'd hurt him, he was beating him up on the mat. He was really doing quite well and taking control of that fight. And then he had an opportunity to get out of the matchup and he didn't know he was going to win it by DQ, but he took it with the I think it was an up kick. And he had a previous issue with an eye, some damage he had taken, and he took the out instead of grinding out the fight and trying to win the matchup. He was gifted the disqualification, but that really is another issue for me as well. On the other side of things, you got Chris Camozzi, who's known for his toughness. He's taken now 2 fights on short notice against Jacare Souza, got his ass beat in both of them, submitted, I guess. I don't know if that's an ass beating. Nonetheless, you know the point. And he's never been knocked out, so his durability, it's decent, and he's a tough kid. For Riggs, against Ron Stallings, he was really struggling early in that matchup. He was getting boxed up early on. He had trouble finding his rhythm and ultimately lost the first round, even though he came on a little bit better in the second half. He throws 2 to 3 punch combinations when he's coming forward. He did drop Stallings in the second round with a huge left hand that had him in a lot of trouble. He landed a straight right just prior to that left connecting. When he's looking to wrestle, he's got a pretty good wrestling game. Jumps on a single leg. He's landed 2 takedowns in each of his fights against Stallings and Patrick Cote. Versus Cote did a very nice job of setting up a shot with a couple punches before changing levels. And Stallings and Saunders, though, had some success attacking off their backs against Riggs, and that's something that Camozzi will probably try to do if he does get taken down. Riggs has good ground and pound, hard elbows. If he's at his best when he can posture up, mixes in his elbows and punches pretty good. He will pass his opponent's guard, but he also has no problem sitting in that position and doing damage. Looking at Camozzi, 64% takedown defense, which is pretty decent, but he has been taken down a lot in his MMA career, especially in the UFC. 8 takedowns in his last 4 fights. He's given up 21 takedowns overall in 14 UFC fights, so he has been taken down fairly frequently. He does do a nice job of getting back up, and that's something that he will look to do here against Riggs if he does get put on his back. Camozzi is a southpaw. He throws a nice long spearing right jab. He will double and triple it up at times, follow with a straight left. He needs to use his reach, though, and that's something he doesn't always do. And sometimes he jabs way too often. He also throws some nice hard leg kicks as well. When he fought Kong Watson, he came with a power guillotine, jumped on a submission opportunity early, attempted a couple others, and I think he was looking to exploit Watson's issues on the ground. With Camozzi, though, he's not the fastest fighter. He tends to plod forward. He's there to get hit, and he gets hit a lot. Watson was having a lot of success in round 2, cracking him, and he will slow down a little bit. We saw him slow down maybe because he got hit with some low blows in that matchup. Nonetheless, he's not the type of guy who's going to really overwhelm you with his volume and his pace. Lots of jabs. Again, he doesn't throw his left hand nearly as much. He needs to be mindful of Joe Riggs coming over the top with some power with that big right or left. When he fought Rafael Natal, he was getting taken down quite frequently and having some issues there. He also made some poor choices against Bruno Santos, throwing knees and jumping into positions that ultimately led to Santos taking him down and stealing a decision there. I look at Riggs. He's got a lot of mileage, but he's a solid veteran. He's got a speed advantage. He's the better technical striker than Camozzi. He throws a little bit more. He has to get on the inside of the reach. He should be the better wrestler. I think that shows up as well in this matchup. I think he's going to land a few key takedowns, score some points, take some advantage of a couple mistakes by Chris Camozzi, and my prediction is probably a bit of an upset here. I've got Joe Riggs to defeat Chris Camozzi by decision. And again, I apologize for the length of this video. I'm trying to slow down a little bit, as some people have requested that I don't ramble and fly through my predictions. I'm trying to slow down but still keep the same amount of content and depth to my breakdowns as much as I can. Nonetheless, we'll do our best. Our next fight, the 4th of the main card, takes place in the UFC's featherweight division as the number 8th ranked fighter in the division, Dennis the Menace Bermudez, 15 wins and 5 losses, takes on number 12 in the division, Tatsuya the Crusher Kawajiri, with a big-time record of 35 wins, 8 losses, and 2 draws. Now, Bermudez is coming off back-to-back defeats. Both times he lost, he came into the matchup as a favorite, and he ended a 7-fight winning streak prior to that those 2 losses. He is in need of a win desperately. For Kawajiri, he has actually won back-to-back fights after a 6-fight streak was snapped in his loss to Clay Guida, who Bermudez fought in the same year and defeated Guida by stoppage. Kawajiri lost by submission. Now, Kawajiri is 1 inch taller, 3 inch reach advantage. Bermudez is the younger man by 8 years. Now, Tatsuya comes into this matchup with some of the best wrestling in MMA, or at least in the division. He's very strong, 12 wins by knockout, 10 wins by submission. He's an exceptional 12-3 on the scorecards. He does have 2 losses by knockout and 3 losses by submission on his record as well. For Bermudez, NCAA Division I wrestler, 4 wins by knockout, 7-0 on the scorecards, 3 submission victories, but 4 submission losses, and he has been knocked out once as well, ultimately the last fight we saw him in. Statistically, both guys are right around 4 takedowns per fight, slight completion percentage advantage for the Japanese fighter, 92% takedown defense for Bermudez, 69% for Kawajiri. Strike-wise, Kawajiri, just 2.15 strikes landed per minute compared to 4.45 for Bermudez. That's a big advantage for Dennis Bermudez. Almost 100% of Kawajiri's offense is built around takedowns. Even when he's striking, you can see him trying to get in position to put the fight on the ground. And he did get the win over Dennis Siver, but it certainly showed the holes in his game in that fight when he could not take Siver down. For Bermudez, big thing with Dennis Bermudez, he gets hurt a lot in fights. And now, against lower-level guys, he's able to recover, rally, and pick up the victory. But when he fought Ricardo Lamas, he got dropped and submitted. And against Jeremy Stephens, he got knocked out. That's for sure. Upset I picked in that one with Stephens over Bermudez. The question is, can Kawajiri out-wrestle him and put him down with consistency, keep him on the mat, and can Bermudez avoid taking that big strike or getting cracked with that big shot that could lead to a knockout or a submission finish? For Kawajiri, when he lost to Clay Guida, it's because he lost the wrestling battle and was on the defensive more often, was getting taken down and not landing enough takedowns to match and surpass what Clay Guida was able to do. He gave up single leg takedowns against Guida. He does a nice job with submissions, though, and that's something Bermudez will have to be very mindful of. We saw Tatsuya use a nice Kimura to fend off takedown attempts. He will use elbows to punish. Overall, he's got a very good submission acumen. Roll for Kimura against Guida, transition to an armbar off his back. Nothing landed, but at least he was attacking. Against Seaver, he used a single leg, pushed Seaver into the cage, transitioned to double leg, had a lot of trouble taking him down, even though he eventually got him down. Against Sean Soriano, same thing. Soriano not known for being a really top-level grappler, but he had a lot of trouble putting Soriano on the mat with consistency, even though he eventually got the submission victory. For Bermudez, when he fights, he likes to fight in close proximity, whether he's striking, working in the clinch, or looking to change levels for takedowns. He will shoot from the outside and has big drive behind those takedowns, but I don't see him taking Kawajiri down with that opportunity. When Guida tried to take him down, he had a lot of success shutting that takedown game down, and he did it so definitively that Guida really backed off any attempt to put him on the mat. What I don't like about Bermudez, he tends to come forward with his chin up. That got him knocked out by Jeremy Stephens. He's been cracked and hurt several times. And that's something, if Kawajiri can land one, it could turn the fight very quickly. Now, Kawajiri actually was dropped by a big right hand from Clay Guida. He isn't the most dynamic striker. He will throw some very interesting techniques, some spinning attacks, very unorthodox that way, but he's not a proficiently sound striker that I can honestly say if he doesn't land takedowns, he's going to find a lot of success on the feet. Seaver was actually lighting him up with some good shots when he wasn't defending takedowns in that matchup. What I expect to see from Kawajiri is punch, shoot for that double leg, which he did against Clay Guida. And again, look for the takedown. For Bermudez, he was getting cracked with some big shots from Guida, who's not known for striking either, and that's something he didn't go down. But again, Kawajiri could have success there, especially when the fighters are in close and they break that close-knit fighting. Look for Bermudez to throw a left jab, come with a hard right hook. He hurt Stephens with a couple of right hands, and I think he also has some hard low kicks, which will probably play a factor in this fight as well. He likes to step into his strikes, which can add power, but can put him off balance, leave him open to get countered, and that's concerning as well. He has some nice knees in the clinch. He keeps the pressure on the chest when he is working from that position. Again, the biggest concern is that Kawajiri is able to land something during a scramble or an exchange and hurt Bermudez and take him out of the matchup. For Bermudez, I think he defends the wrestling. He works with superior striking. I think the speed of Bermudez shows up significantly, and my prediction is Dennis Bermudez to defeat Tatsuya Kawajiri by TKO. I'm watching the Grammys right now, and Justin Bieber is standing on stage with a trucker hat turned backwards and a really bad mustache and a leopard printed jacket that probably looked better on the leopard. Nonetheless, dude, come on, you look like a jackass. Sometimes I'm really sad that he comes from the same country that I do. Nonetheless, moving on to the co-main event of the evening. It's in the UFC's middleweight division as number 13th ranked Derek Brunson, formerly of Strikeforce, with a current record of 14 wins and 3 losses, takes on the 15th ranked Roan Carneiro with a record of 20 wins and 9 losses. Carneiro fighting out of Brazil. Now, Brunson has quietly climbed the ranks. He's 5-1 in the UFC, which is pretty darn impressive. His only loss coming against Yoel Romero in a fight he was winning until he got stopped in the final round. Oh, he just jumped off stage. That's fantastic. Good. Bye-bye. Sorry. My hate for Bieber runs deep. Returning to the action. Carneiro fought last and his only action on his current UFC stint came at UFC 184 roughly 1 year ago. He pulled out of a September fight with Gegard Mousasi, and he has fought traditionally at middleweight. At welterweight. He is sticking at middleweight for this matchup as well as his last one. Brunson is 2 inches taller. He'll have a 3-inch reach advantage, and he's the younger man by 6 years. Now, Carneiro is a third-degree BJJ black belt, 2 wins by knockout, 10 wins by submission, 8-3 on the scorecards, but he does have 2 losses by knockout. He has been he has 4 losses by knockout, I believe. He has been submitted defeated twice overall, and he is 2-3 in the UFC, at least 2-3 in the UFC during his 2007 to 2008 run. For Brunson, BJ Purple Belt, NCAA Division II wrestler, 6 wins by knockout, 4 wins by submission, 4-1 on the scorecards. He has 2 losses coming both via knockout against top-ranked middleweights in Jacare Souza and Yoel Romero. Now, Brunson has developed a strong striking attack to complement what is a pretty adequate wrestling game. He is a southpaw striker, which kind of gives him an advantage. It really messes up guys right from the get-go. In his decision wins over Chris Lieben, which was forgettable, and Lorenz Larkin, which was a pretty good performance, he picked up 8 overall takedowns. He landed 3 against Yoel Romero, which is pretty darn impressive, but in his wins over Ed Herman and Sam Alvey, he quickly put them away with his hands, didn't require his wrestling whatsoever. Against Herman, he threw a pair of very hard left hands that put Herman down and left him ready to get put away with the ground strikes. Against Houston, when he fought him, he dropped him with a big head kick and ultimately picked up a submission shortly thereafter. He has a very strong left hand. He landed it against Sam Alvey in the clinch, hurt Alvey, and eventually he bullied him into the cage and was busting him up until the fight came to its conclusion. What I don't like what Brunson does, he tends to overextend on his strikes when he is attacking, especially when he senses his opponent's hurt. Overcommitting leaves his chin out, leaves him exposed to being countered and cracked, and he has been knocked out twice, so certainly that is a possibility. Against Sam Alvey, he got very wild, hurt him against the cage, and finished him, but again, Alvey could have landed one of those big bombs that he throws, and the fight could have been completely turned on its head. For Carneiro, he's, when he fought, prior to coming back to the UFC, fought 3 times in one night at a Battleground MMA tournament at welterweight, won all 3, beating Brock Larson in the finals. Pretty darn impressive run to get his name back on the MMA map. He has 4 wins by rear naked choke, several other choke-based submissions, including his victory over Munoz when he defeated him. He's a very crafty and opportunistic grappler, a veteran grappler, dangerous in the scrambles, exceptionally strong back mount. When he fought Munoz, he punched his way into the clinch, attacked the neck right away once they got in close proximity, and transitioned to the rear naked choke that quickly put him to sleep in that matchup. Now, he had success landing takedowns in his first UFC run, 15 takedowns over just 5 fights, no less than 2 in any one of his matchups, including 2 against John Fitch. So he's pretty good at putting guys on the ground. Look for him; he'll shoot from the outside or work a body lock takedown clinch combination attempt as well. Whether that works or not against a guy like Derek Brunson, a heavier and very accomplished wrestler, that'll be interesting to see how that plays out. He has a decent striking game, but again, he's built primarily to grapple. Brunson, 100% takedown defense. Defended 4 of 4 attempts from an Olympic wrestler in Yoel Romero. I think he should be able to use those skills and the aforementioned size to stuff Carneiro's takedown attempts. Still needs to be very careful when looking for takedown attempts of his own or in any form of scramble or opportunity that Carneiro could get on top or clip him and then lead to a ground exchange that followed up with that. Could lead to a submission. Brunson, I think, bullies him on the cage, lands something significant, shows that Carneiro probably belongs more at welterweight, and my prediction is Derek Brunson to defeat Roan Carneiro by knockout. In the main event of the evening, we are welterweight division for a matchup between 2 fighters who traditionally fight at lightweight, as Donald the Cowboy Cerrone, 28 wins, 6 losses, and 1 no contest, takes on late notice injury replacement Alex, also the Cowboy Oliveira of Brazil with a 13-2-1 record, also 1 no contest on his. So it's the U.S.-American Cowboy taking on the Brazilian Cowboy for ultimate Western dominance. I don't know. I hate when they call events by people's nicknames. This is technically UFC Fight Night 83, Cowboy versus Cowboy, but I refuse to put that in. It's Cerrone versus Oliveira as far as I'm concerned. Moving on, we are at 170 pounds of this matchup, where these guys traditionally fight is 155 pounds. Oliveira has fought twice at 170 pounds, once against KJ Noons, also 155 pounder, and second against a pretty big guy in Joe Merritt. Cerrone, I don't think he's ever fought at welterweight prior to this fight, fighting almost 100% at 155 in the UFC and WEC. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one, please. Oliveira is taking this fight on approximately 2.5 weeks' notice, replacing Tim Means. This is still scheduled to be a 5-round matchup, so keep that in mind when you are looking at your fight analysis. Cerrone has gone 5 rounds twice, booked 5 times. Oliveira has never gone 5 rounds. He's never gone 4 rounds, even though he has gone 3 on multiple occasions. In addition to the division change for both men and short notice for Oliveira, Cerrone is coming off a definitive and disappointing title fight defeat. So there is that possibility of a letdown coming to this matchup. But keep in mind the American Cowboy, has never lost back-to-back fights in his career. Cerrone is 2 inches taller, Oliveira will have a 3-inch reach advantage, and the Brazilian is 5 years younger. Now looking at looking at Donald first, he has a nice mix of BJJ and Muay Thai, 5 wins by knockout, 15 wins by submission. He's 8-4 in the scorecards. His other losses, 2 by knockout, 1 by submission. He could have more knockout wins on his career, and I've talked about this all the time, but he usually opts to go for the submission after hurting his opponent instead of looking to finish up with strikes. His 3 losses over his last 14 matchups, and that's how good this guy has been, have come against Anthony Pettis, former lightweight champion, and the current lightweight champion, Rafael dos Anjos, defeated him twice. A couple of knocks on Cerrone. He tends to be a bit of a slow starter. He can be thrown off his game if things don't work to his advantage. He has a non-MMA related body injury, which is certainly showing up in his MMA career, where he has been hurt multiple times to the body. Dos Anjos hurt him to the body, and so did Pettis when they stopped him. For Oliveira, he has half the experience of his opponent, but he also comes from a Muay Thai and BJJ background in which he holds a purple belt. 9 wins by knockout, 3-1 in fights ended by submission, 2-1 in the scorecards. His only loss in his last 13 fights came against Gilbert Burns in a matchup where he was dominating. He took it on short notice as well. He was dominating, got caught in a late submission. When he fought Burns, he had a lot of success controlling the distance. He throws a very solid right hand. He has also quick left heel working as well. Look for him to come over the top with an overhand right, which has power. He will get wild when he is engaging. He tends to overextend. His technique is very loose and a little bit sloppy at times, but his power makes it still impactful, and his reach tends to keep him out of trouble when he is opening up. He also can do a different, he can strike at distance and do damage that, but look for him to also close the distance and try and work his clinch game. He uses a lot of heavy shoulder pressure, did it against Piotr Hallman, did it against Joe Merritt as well. He got, in that matchup, he looked for takedowns from the position against KJ Nunes. He immediately moved to the back and submitted him, which was pretty darn impressive as well, how quickly and abruptly he put Nunes away. When he fought Merritt, he went for big submission opportunities. He had back mount, lost it, wound up on bottom. Top control, lost it, put on his back. He lost several opportunities to take the fight to the ground and control the matchup because he was being too sloppy with his ground attack. Overall, Oliveira, he tends to come forward in fights, but he will slow down and he will labor in a 5-round fight that could really show up if it gets that far. For Cerrone, we've seen him so much, you know what to expect. He throws good combinations. He has an excellent stepping knee, will throw both off, as an initial engagement or as a counter strike. Hard kicks, he'll work them in everywhere to the body, to the head, to the legs, both the roundhouse kick variety, and the push technique. Defensive striking is a bit of a weakness at times. He gets hit a lot. It can fluster him. We saw Nate Diaz take advantage of that. The wrestling of Cerrone, I think, could show up in this fight as well. Oliveira was grounded by Piotr Hallman in the second round, and Cerrone, if he gets on top, he's certainly capable of holding guys down and doing damage from that position. The way I look at it, the Brazilian takes way too many chances and makes too many positional mistakes on the mat that Cerrone will make him pay for if they do hit the ground. If he's going to be successful on the feet, he needs to keep constant pressure on Cowboy, back him up, hurt him, wear him out, and I think he has to fight almost a perfect fight in this matchup, because what he does that makes him effective, Cerrone is that much better at. There are too many openings that Oliveira is going to leave. I think he's going to walk into a counter or make a major mistake on the mat, and Cerrone is going to capitalize. And my prediction is Donald Cowboy Cerrone to defeat Alexander Oliveira by knockout. So those are my 6 main card predictions. Definitely 5 main card predictions. Hopefully the other one gets moved to the main card. Either way, those are 6 predictions for the upcoming UFC Fight Night 83 event, which takes place this Sunday. So make sure you tune in for that. Consider buying the bet packs if you're looking to make some financial investments, whether it be fantasy MMA related to DraftKings, who recently bought Countermove. Just keep that in mind so you're not surprised when you go to log into your Countermove. You already aren't aware of that. Or if you're looking to bet straight up. Also on my site, there'll be more details to follow shortly. But I am bringing in a guy I certainly consider an expert in fantasy MMA to break down a couple of fantasy fights options to give you some insight as to when you are setting your lineups for DraftKings. You'll have his input, so certainly check that out on a couple of matchups. Keep your eyes open on my Twitter account. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on YouTube as well to get all the latest videos that I post. And I think we get I think it's the first time in a while we've had 3 consecutive shows in 3 consecutive weekends, so I'm going to be very busy. Please be patient. Thank you as always for tuning in, and I'll talk to you next time. And one last thing, may the judges be with us. Take care, guys.